Hey Vikings, Achilles here. I've had a lot of requests to see some actual combat, and so today we're going to kind of take a look at some of the screenshots of battle reports that I've taken over the last few months. At this point, I have kind of an absurd number of screenshots. This is just a small chunk from a couple months ago. One of the interesting things about this month was that it was the first time using the tier 1 trap, which I've gone over in one of my trap videos. I'll try to put a link down in the description below. But the very short version of what a tier 1 trap is that basically you take a small account and you put it unshielded in the forest or by your um, stronghold or whatnot, and it has no troops of its own, but you have a very large person from your server. Reinforce it with tier 1 troops, make sure you keep buffs up, and obviously combat, hero, and shaman. And the goal of this is to be small enough that the big players aren't really going to go for it, because I mean, I'm not going to port for a 2 million player. I know they don't have enough there for it to be worth it. Um, but the smaller players, like this one for example, are going to port in and they're going to hit it. And as you can see, lose their ass pretty hard. There are a lot of smaller players that have tier 5 and tier 6, so even a player with 20 to 30 million influence can actually give you a lot of points. I have a couple good clips from this particular month, but it gets better over time. But anyways, let's take a look at how this played out in my first foray. Okay, so we had a 1.5 billion player hit, 25k versus 285k. Just remember, the loser loses points based on all the troops that they lost, or that they sent, not just what actually died. Okay. Another, so this is a 3 billion player. I was about 18 billion influence at the time of this video, or 16? 16 to 18. Um, so even a decent sized player not doing much damage there. This one uh, this is one of the first bigger hits I was pretty happy about. So even with him sending a little bit of a, I guess it's not that much, um, but sending some higher tier troops, still very little damage to my tier 1, a lot of points. Okay, even bigger player, sending tier 2, pretty decent chunk of points, and again, not very many tier 1 losses. Um, I didn't really mean for it to go in order like this, but yeah, so 9 billion players, so half my size, sending tier uh, sending tier 2, still not able to clear those tier 1. And him sending again, this time he actually cleared it, and I did probably lose the point war with this one. Um, tier 3 are worth about 4 times the points. So, what, 4 times 8, 24, or 32 rather. So, I lost 435k tier 1, he lost about 320k tier 1 worth of points. If that didn't make sense, just ignore that portion. But yeah, so I lost the point battle here a little bit, but again, it's tier 1, so the actual points lost when I do get cleared aren't really that big of a deal. So I'll set this up and I'll set about 3 to 5 hours worth of boosts on it, and then I'll just go AFK. If it gets cleared, okay. Usually I still come ahead on points, unless it's a player similar to my size or they OS me. But it's not a big loss, even if even if that similar sized player does clear me. Okay, and this was a nice one. So I didn't get cleared here, or I did actually. But either way, just looking at the points, um, which you can't totally judge based on influence, but this is a pretty big difference here. So I lost, what, 870k worth of influence versus 7.7 million. They definitely had a rough time on points for that one. Okay. This one was quite fun. So 600 million player. This is really kind of the where I get most of the points from on these tier 1 traps. So he killed just under 28,000 tier 1, lost 366k troops, 23.2 million influence lost. So this was a ton of points. He had tier 5 in there, potentially tier 6. And tier 1 traps are quite fun, but let's take a look at some actual combat from this month. The next few screenshots are from a KVK Revenge, where we were trying to deny each other the place of power, just because it has those huge buffs for knowledge and troop training. So this one was me hitting their PoP. And again, there's no points here, so it doesn't hurt if you actually get wiped in terms of the competition, but I mean, it hurts your wallet. So I had the first kind of probing hit to see how well I was going to do with it. This clan had a 32 billion influence player that had really wrecked me in the last KVK, so I was a little nervous about hitting them, but I think I managed to get them without their 32 billion player in there for this hit. Yeah, pretty solid amount of damage, minor losses. And this, he actually got one wave in, but his shaman wasn't really set up quite right, if I remember correctly, and I had the 10-minute buffs going. I'd been watching. He jumped to hit someone and came back and loaded up one round before he could get the second set of troops in. I hopped in and hit it. I think my saving grace there was that I had the counter to his troops, which were the tier 5 siege. I was a little hesitant to try to hold our place of power the first night. Didn't have everyone on that I wanted for full reinforcement, so I kind of just stuck in a little chunk of troops that I didn't think I would miss, knowing that they would probably not survive. And it was a pretty good fight. Did end up losing the place of power for the night, and I wish I had sent more because their 32 billion didn't get on until later, after the place of power would have gone into reinforcement, but it was still an interesting fight. So 23.8 million lost to 52.6, but also do remember that this is only showing the losses for the person that actually launched the onslaught, not the other two people that participated. Their losses were going to be pretty high. I want to say it's 98 influence per tier 5 times, so 646 plus 527. I didn't do that right. We'll just look at, so 63 million just for these troops, which means this was probably about 40 to 50 million. So yeah, they lost quite a bit, but again, there's no points for in KPK, so it doesn't really matter that much. This is the second fight where they actually defeated it, and this is where I screwed up. So I wasn't really thinking about the fact that there really wasn't any downside to, well, I mean, so this is the 33 billion player that had me kind of nervous. We got 9.6 million troops in there. It's like there's no way that he can one-hit it. There's no way he's going to really bother with this. Unfortunately, I found this out later, but this guy had stayed at about 30 million or 30 billion for a long time, and basically he was just training troops and letting them die and then retraining them for KVK Revenge, which is kind of an expensive way to do it, but it kept their kingdom small. So like this kingdom was probably 8 months older than us, and we were maybe 3 to 4 months old at this time. Um, so yeah, they were about triple our age. This is a good plan, but what that meant was that he had a lot of troops to dump, and he dumped them on us. So we ended up losing everything in here. I felt quite shitty because there's a lot of people's troops in here, including mine, of course, but I wasn't watching as intently as I should have been. And this all happened in the span of a couple minutes. You can see the timestamps. So, yeah, I didn't manage to even kick out troops at the end. And that's kind of how that ended up. So, yeah, got quite a few more screenshots, and they actually get better as time goes on. So I'll start putting out some videos of this as time permits. I am moving apartments at the moment, so I'm kind of swamped. And you probably noticed the videos are more sporadic than normal, but it'll get back on track here in the next month or so. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you have any comments or questions, leave them in the comments section below. Hit that like button if you found this video interesting, and subscribe for more. I'll see you all next time.